Evening, my name's Sam Lothrop. Tonight I'm going to be giving an informational speech about chess, history, and how to play. So where better to start than at the beginning? According to a Britannica article labeled Chess History, chess is thought to have originated in the 5th century in India, and later in the following centuries, the game evolved and spread through the Silk Road, eventually ending up in the Caliphates in the Near East, where it had quite the glow-up and quite the expansion. One reason for this, according to Brown's Jehoski Institute for Archaeology in the Ancient World, Muslim authorities flatly denounced games of chance, and since chess is a game of skill, decriers could not denounce it on the basis of degeneracy. With all that said, I'm sure you additionally, it's of importance to note, certain pieces did not originate in Arabia or in India, most notably the bishop, which comes from Europeans. However, even on that topic, standardized chess pieces didn't come into existence until the 19th century when the first international games started. With all that said, I'm sure you'd like to actually know how to play the game. So let's start with the most simple of the rules. According to Dicebreaker, How to Play Chess for Beginners, Rules, Moves, and Setup, pieces cannot move through pieces of either color. So, for instance, we'll take white here, but it also applies to black. We'll call him Pawn A, Pawn B. Pawn A cannot jump over Pawn B. Pawn A cannot occupy the same space as Pawn B. Pawn B has to move, so Pawn A can move. With that said, it's of importance to touch on how the pieces actually function. So we'll start on the pawn, and pawn's the simplest, so it can only move forward one space at a time, and it can never go backwards, only forwards direction. With that said, though, it does have some interesting movement gimmicks. For one, if it's going from rest from where it starts out on the board, it can actually jump forward too. Additionally, if it's diagonal to a piece, it can take a piece and remove it from play. For the purposes of this speech, it's of note that any piece can take another piece of the separate color. Additionally, if a pawn moves all the way to the end, it can be exchanged for another piece, making, in theory, infinitely valuable. Then we have to talk about the rook, which its ability allows it to move fully horizontally, fully vertically, which gives it great movement potential. And then you have its opposite, the bishop, which can move fully diagonally. Then you have the combination of the two, the most powerful piece in the game, the queen, which is able to move fully vertically, fully horizontally, and fully diagonally, giving it the greatest range of motion. Then, of course, you have the king, the most important piece in the game, and it's got similar motion to the queen in the sense that it can go vertically, horizontally, and diagonally. However, it's limited to one space of movement, much like a pawn. However, it does have the ability to fall back. And that leaves us with the most interesting piece in the game, the knight. And the gimmick behind the knight, it moves in an L shape, so it's easy to remember if you just stick up your fingers. But it has the ability to jump over other pieces, making it the only piece in the game able to do that, as you see with this pawn here. So, yes, it's very interesting on that front. As for how you actually win, according to a New York Times article, How to Play Chess, victory is defined as when the king is put into a check in which it cannot escape. So we'll take this for instance. A check, the king is pressured by this rook here as the rook can move fully horizontally and take out the king, not the king. Take out the king. However, the king would be able to move, but let's say the queen is here, he's here, now he's got nowhere he can move without getting shot, without getting killed. As such, king's down, and you win the game. With that said, it would probably be of note to tell you how to actually set up the board. So, it's quite simple. You have the infantry in front, represented by the pawns. The queens are on both of their respective tiles, i.e. white for white, black for black, with the kings to their rights, or kings to their sides. And following that, you have the bishops, which provide counsel to the king and the queen respectively, and the knights holding the flanks, while the rooks decide where the battle is taking place at. They're to the farthest side. With all that said, we're going to talk about one simple setup, as recommended by the 4th edition Chess, the complete guide to chess mastery, chess tactics, chess openings, and chess strategies, which recommends the Ruy Lopez, which is developed by a Spanish monk during the 15th century. With that said, what it involves is you move out the pawn such so you gain control of the middle board. Move the bishop here so it can pressure the left flank. And then move up a knight here so you gain some pressure on the right flank and have the ability to control some of the middle board with the knight. Anyways, mind you, this won't be entirely in practice as you both get a turn. Whenever you move, the enemy gets to move as well. It seems I'm running a bit low on time, so I'd like to thank you for watching this speech and wish you happy trails, good night, and fair health.